Have you ever felt like a hero in your own life? I find that it's an incredible but rare feeling that many people never have, which is why so many of us turn to movies, sports, and video games that makes us feel like a hero. And the first time I ever felt like a hero was when I played my first Zelda game, The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time. As a kid, being sucked into the magical world of Hyrule, with its talking trees and diverse cast of characters and locations, I absolutely loved it, as it quickly became one of my favorite games of all time. It gave me the feeling of being a hero that I will never forget, the hero of Hyrule. However, there's a moment about a third into the game that horrified me, scarring my existence and my understanding of the future. After unlocking the Temple of Time and collecting the Master Sword, Link enters a deep slumber, only to find himself awoken 7 years later, able to finally wield the Master Sword and harness its strength. However, these past 7 years have not been simply focused on the passage of time. Calamity struck as Ganondorf wreaked havoc on the citizens of Hyrule, the citizens I've come to know and to love. As we leave the Temple of Time to continue our journey, we find that the once bustling market bouncing to its own tune had become a desolate wasteland. The inhabitants transformed into zombified husks wrought with decay. A land once teeming with life, hope, and heroes, ravaged by villains, despair, and death. Upon seeing the destruction of this sacred land and the characters grown without a hero in their lives, I couldn't help but feel awful, horrified that I could allow this to happen. Decades later, since finishing the game, this shock still haunts me. By all means, I understand this was programmed into the game. This is always how the story unfolds. Yet why do I mourn for the kingdom wrecked? Why can't my fears be put to rest, knowing that the hero always saves the day, despite being a few years late? It's in the years of suffering that I find my answer. A horror inflicting not only Link, but every single person, preventing them from being heroes that I need to address. The Horror of Sloth. Welcome back to my series exploring the intersection between horrific video games and these 7 deadly sins. In each episode, I aim to deconstruct a concept of a particular deadly sin and use video games to provide evocative lessons about the human psyche. Let me know what you think about this series down in the comments, and consider liking and subscribing to be notified of the rest. But now, we need to answer the question, what exactly is the Horror of Sloth? I'll be honest, when I first learned about the concept of sloth, I associated it with laziness and an overall lack of desire or just taking things slow. I mean, can you really blame me? Every representation of sloth in media tends to pull from this generic definition: reluctance to work or make an effort, laziness. It's even symbolized by these animals, who are notoriously slow, just like King Zora taking his sweet time scooting out of our way. Come on! But let me clear up any confusion. Upon further reflection, the Horror of Sloth isn't concerned about laziness or wanting to stay in bed. After all, we all need our rest to get our strength back to fight another battle. The true horror is never getting out of bed in the first place. As if Link never decided to be the hero of Hyrule despite the persistent call to action.
Hey, listen! Hey, hey, hey!
The best way I can describe this is simply the rejection of your responsibility. But we're not some mythical hero of legend that has a call to save the world. So, what responsibility do we have? Strangely, the best way I can understand the responsibility we all share is by incorporating the works of Russian novelist Fyodor Dostoevsky, particularly his work, Notes from Underground. First published in 1864, Notes from Underground serves as the fictional memoir of a bitter, isolated, and certified yapper commonly known as the Underground Man. Now, this piece is about many things, from the Russian political climate of the time to the suffering, isolation, and even spiteful nature of humanity. But the main thing that I want to cover is its commentary on nihilism. You know, that philosophy that essentially says that life is meaningless. In Notes from Underground, life for the underground man is seen as just meaningless, contemplative nihilism. For example, the underground man lives a life of solitude and claims he listens to everyone through a crack in the floor, highlighting that his place underground is merely for insects and small rodents. Actually, he's even worse than an insect. He writes,
I tell you solemnly that I have many times tried to become an insect, but I was not equal even to that. I swear, gentlemen, that to be too conscious is an illness.
he consciously views himself as a pitiful, inferior monstrosity, as far from a hero as possible. And yet, he has an important responsibility that he battles with. He views himself intelligent and writes to share his own memoir with us. For better or for worse. He writes,
Though we may sit 40 years underground without speaking, when we do come out into the light of day and break out, we talk and talk and talk.
when it comes to the underground man, who can be hidden underground for 40 years, or to anyone stranded in the darkness, as soon as there comes a time to be exposed to the light, they will and should jump at the chance to bask in the sun. It's their responsibility to, because life is meant to be lived, and not just tucked away in some crevice underground. This is the responsibility that the Horror of Sloth concerns us with. Sloth isn't just laziness, it's a rejection of the responsibility to live your life, to better yourself and your community, and to be a hero. It's the rejection of your humanity. This is why, if Link had never answered the call to the Great Deku Tree, he would be rejecting the responsibility he has as a hero and as a person. It's also the reason why those years that Link seemingly abandoned his world becomes so horrifying. It felt like the rejection of his inherent duty. And because of his sloth, the world fell into ruin. And so many people suffered at the hands of a mad tyrant. Now, we understand that he needed time to gather his strength, but this concept in delaying your duty becomes interesting. In fact, if we take this paint and actually brush it over the entirety of the Legend of Zelda series, we see a startling similarity. Every Zelda is about responsibility and the horror that comes from your sloth. From Breath of the Wild, where Link was asleep for 100 years while the world decayed, Wind Waker, where Hyrule was flooded by the goddesses since no hero was there to stop Ganon, to Twilight Princess, where Hyrule is being consumed by twilight and no one can prevent it. If you think about every single Zelda game, we can see this rejection, or at least lapse in responsibility, contributing to this Horror of Sloth, a horror that allows the land of Hyrule and its inhabitants to suffer for so many years, unable to live their lives fully. If you don't believe me, drop a comment and we'll see how responsibility plays out in any Zelda game, since it's in every single one. Yes, even in Link's crossbow training, where if you don't train hard enough, you'll never be able to be the hero that Link was destined to be. Now, all this talk about heroes makes me weary, and I want to step away from Link as a character, because the Zelda series is as equal of Link's story as it is the story of Hyrule. There are so many others in Hyrule besides Link. Link isn't the only hero, or at least he shouldn't be. But yet the entire series revolves around the hero of legend that will save everyone. That seems like a lot for one person to handle, yet Link handles it every single time. So I can understand the feeling of not needing to be a hero, because you'll always be saved by someone else. However, the more we end up relying on this mystical hero, the further away we get from being a hero ourselves. And we owe it to ourselves to try. Because if we stray far enough, we no longer see ourselves as Link. We start to see ourselves as the underground man. And there is something horrifying that I neglected to mention about this underground man. As mentioned, the underground man is a certified yapper. he talks a great deal about how beautiful it is to live life, especially to a woman that he has a chance to connect with, Liza, even though he becomes extremely condescending to her. He berates her for choosing to work in prostitution rather than enjoying the ride of life, the wonders of being in love, having children, and enjoying what other wonders life can give you. He sees it as a responsibility to one's innate beauty, to enjoy and live, to reject the notion of nihilism. But yet he never does any of that. He has neither children nor love. He barely has a semblance of a full life. He is no hero, despite his reverence for others who would be heroes. Despite the persistent calls to live his life, to choose against sloth and try to be anything, literally anything at all, he fails to do so. He writes,
It was not only that I could not become spiteful, I did not know how to become anything. Neither spiteful nor kind, neither a rascal nor an honest man, neither a hero nor an insect. Now I am living out my life in my corner, taunting myself with the spiteful and useless consolation that an intelligent man cannot become anything seriously, and it is only the fool who becomes anything.
he's too absorbed in his thoughts to do anything other than moping around, reminiscing about events long past, and being critical of everything that provides connection and meaning. But the fool who remains relatively mute and wears a green tunic is able to become the hero of legend, and not be burdened by the doubts of his own mind. The underground man doesn't need to be a hero because some dolt will end up doing it instead, even though he never gets saved. Because of his inaction, the underground man becomes a bitter, spiteful man, longing to belong to his community and burdened by thinking himself superior and more intelligent, while everyone else remains stupid, blindly following what they don't understand. What's even worse is that he doesn't believe his own sloth to be the issue, that his rejection of his humanity is not his fault, but the fault of others for not recognizing his worth, his superiority, or even his existence. His lack of accountability is bundled with a deep hatred for himself and for everyone, all aided by his crippling passivity and loneliness. He's a cautionary tale of who not to be, as the author Dostoevsky wrote about a man with a struggling mindset that is still so prevalent today. So many of us can, unfortunately, see ourselves reflected in him, that our inaction and sloth leads us to a life unfulfilled, a life of never being a hero, but awaiting someone to connect with us, to love us, and to save us, up until we reach the end, and no one ever did. So how can we prevent this horror from taking a hold of our lives, for it to never happen in the first place? In order to answer that, I will need to talk about one final Zelda game, one that I have put off for years, and I'm now playing it just for the first time for you. The Legend of Zelda: Majora's Mask. Set several months after the events of Ocarina of Time, we follow Link into a strange land as he is ambushed and cursed by Skull Kid, a mischievous kid wearing the mighty Majora's Mask. A mask powerful enough to end the world. Link then becomes responsible, again, to become the hero of time, retrieve the mask back from Skull Kid, and save the lands of Termina from utter destruction in just 3 days' time. I'll be honest with you all, the reason I have never touched Majora's Mask longer than 30 minutes is solely caused by the primal fear I get knowing that I only have a limited amount of time to save the world. In other entries in the series, we have seemingly unlimited time to enjoy dungeons, roam the lands, and goof around. We all know Link will save the day, so it doesn't matter how fast or slow he does it. The pressure to be a hero is relaxed. But Majora's Mask is distinctly different in its approach. Link only has 3 days, and if he fails, the world will end. It's a haunting reminder that we only have a limited amount of time to take action, and that our lives, as well as our world, is finite. But rest assured, Link is able to do it, especially when obtaining the power to control the flow of time, reversing it to the beginning of the 72-hour countdown so that time and time again, he can save the world. That's correct. Majora's Mask is a time loop game, but only for Link. This is a crucial plot point of the game that contributes to a lingering horror that affects the land every time Link rewinds. When Link goes back, he keeps the various masks and items he's gathered along the way from saving people. Yet, the people he saved and the problems he solved suddenly revert to the time before the hero saved the day. For Link, once you had saved people in one loop, there's very little reason to save them again. He's already made progress towards his ultimately more important goal of stopping the moon. So, you are encouraged to press on, while the ones who need your help perpetually suffer. This gives me a really weird feeling. As a hero, when you save people from their doom, it feels wrong for them to become doomed once more, especially in the same way. Narratively, you expect them to be fine and dandy once the hero graces their lives. But that is not the case for the inhabitants of Termina. Link isn't the hero in their story for every single time loop, unless you went for the grand challenge of saving and completing every side mission in one go. But let's be honest, that's a near impossible task. So the issues affecting them fall solely onto their own shoulders. And what do they end up doing? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. I'm sorry, but do you know how frustrating it is to see the inaction of the characters in Majora's Mask? They are faced with severe calamitous issues, from the poisoning of the swamp waters in the Woodfall region, an achingly iced Goron village, the sudden increase in temperature of the sea, literal bodies rising from their graves, hell, even an alien invasion. All of these climate or supernatural disasters are genuine causes for concern. Not to mention the horrifying reality that the moon is increasing in size at an alarming rate. But yet, the inhabitants of Termina remained paralyzed, absorbed by their own indecision, arrogance, and learned helplessness. They sit there and whine, crying constantly in the hopes that someone will listen to their pleas and answer. Like the Goron Elder's son, constantly crying while everyone just covers their ears, hoping the issues will solve themselves. Or worse, they claim that everything is fine, that the suffering and eventual end to the world is nothing to make a fuss over, for they disregard any motivation to act. Like Muto, stubbornly convincing the mayor and keeping the guards in town as their death approaches. Or even his workers, staring at the moon for hours on end and wondering if they should leave. It's clear why people often say that Termina is a land plagued by death, but it isn't from the presence of skeletons or the theme that the world is ending. It's from the lack of life. It's from the rejection of the responsibility to save yourself and better the world for those around you. It's the horror of sloth afflicting every member of the world, shaping them into underground people. They await a life, a hero, to come to their rescue, rather than becoming the hero they needed all along. Don't get me wrong, there are some issues that are so big one person cannot handle it all. Like Link, destroying the malicious power of Majora's Mask and saving the world yet again. He couldn't have done it alone. He needed the help of 4 powerful guardians, and so many others along the way. But if there is no action to try, no effort towards his responsibility to make a step in saving the world and ending the suffering for so many, then the world couldn't have been saved. So let's finally answer how we can prevent the horror of sloth. How do we make that first step? The final concept I want to leave you all with today is a powerful means of encouragement to combat this inaction. the difference between proactivity and reactivity, where reactivity is defined by the quality or state of being marked by reaction or reactance. Just like any underground man, finally living when they are put in life's way. Or the people of Termina, panicking now that their world is ending, even though they had ample time to stop it. Reactivity is marked as a hero arises because there is a villain who gains power and needs to be stopped. In Hyrule, that would be stopping Ganondorf after he's destroyed the world, or stopping Majora's Mask after inflicting so much suffering. It's how every Zelda game is played out, to defeat the evil after it had so much time to wreck the lands. Proactivity, on the other hand, is defined as the quality or state of acting in anticipation of future problems, needs, or changes. Like if the underground man had finally lived, not because he got in life's way, but because he made a way for himself to live on his own. Proactivity is the chance to never have a villain to fight against, because they never got the chance to exercise their evil. For Hyrule, that would mean stopping Ganon before he comes into power. For Termina, that would mean fostering a positive sense of community. A community focused on living, action, and caring for another, so that when a kid feels abandoned by his friends, growing up and taking on more responsibilities, he doesn't end up destroying the world. You don't have to wait until the world is falling apart to start making it better. And it can be as simple as befriending someone in need of your presence, because to them, you are a hero. This is the solution for the Horror of Sloth. You cannot just keep yapping like the underground man whose inaction was so profound that the last line of the novel reads. The notes of this paradoxalist do not end here, however. He could not refrain from going on with them, but it seems to us that we may stop here. We had to stop there because nothing else would have been done. He would have yapped and yapped and yapped. And action is the greatest remedy for the Horror of Sloth. It's our responsibility to just do something, anything at all. So you need to start and finish all your projects, responsibilities, and actions that you've been delaying. Hell, make some New Year's resolutions and stick to them this time, because you are innately human, and humans do incredible things. We do not have enough time to wait until someone saves us. We have to be the ones to start making a difference. Zelda games have always highlighted this fact because they show the consequences of a world that rots when people do nothing, only for a hero to come in and purge out the decay. However, if we were to conquer sloth and prevent the suffering before it takes place, hell, maybe we will be bigger heroes than we could have ever dreamed of. Thank you all so much for watching this video, and I hope you enjoyed it. Feel free to check out my other ones, especially in the 7 Deadly Sins series, and subscribe to be notified of the rest. Playing these games again have resurfaced plenty of memories, and there was one character I was dying to talk about in this video, but I couldn't exactly place them in. So, for Patreon and YouTube members of my channel, I will also be releasing a companion video about this character, how they were my first crush in the Zelda series, and how awful I felt about the sloth that harms them, which serves as inspiration for this video. If you're interested, the links are in the description. Thank you all again, and I will see you all in the next video.